Today's episode of the No Fun City podcast is brought to you by Shredlights. Check them out at shredlights.com and be sure to use the discount code Mahyar10 to receive 10% off your order. Also, be sure to hit subscribe for your chance to win an awesome prize pack. Welcome to the No Fun City podcast, episode 10. Our first set of double digits and our first set of double guests. Today we have Nathalie and Eric with us. Both of them are travelers. That's exactly what we're going to talk about. And Nathalie holds a special place in my heart because she and I used to go to school together and we're really good friends. And I'm happy she's here today because I haven't seen her in a very long time. And Eric I'm meeting for the first time and I'm super thrilled. Because together they do have a YouTube channel. And Nathalie, I want to pick your brain about a YouTube channel that you also started.
Yeah. That I've sort of abandoned.
Yes. I'm upset about that and we're going to talk about it.
I'll come back to it.
Okay, good. But Wandersailings, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nathalie, let's quickly start with you and after school.
Yeah.
Because we graduated, we got our BAs, and then, we both start working and going on in life. But then you start traveling. And we're going to get into how you met Eric. But first, I want to hear each of your individual stories. So where you were before you met Eric, where Eric was before he met you, and then how you guys ended up actually meeting. Because you guys knew each other before.
That's right,
Yeah, right? So, Nathalie, why don't you tell us a bit about what you've been doing for the past few years? Yeah.
Sure. So, after I graduated school, I realized, I went directly from high school to university. And I never traveled. I had been to the States. I had, Venezuela because that's where I come from, and Canada. But I had never gone anywhere. So my first trip was to the Philippines. I went by myself for 6 weeks, and it was unreal. It was just such a good experience. So it kind of got me addicted to traveling. And as soon as I had another chance, I went to Europe. I had I have a Spanish citizenship, so I was able to stay in Europe for as long as I wanted and work. So I lived in London for a year, and I just traveled all over Europe and went off to other places like Morocco and Israel and just everywhere. I think it was 30 different countries or something like that in about a year and a half. The world is a wonderful place, and I just wanted to see it all. So I did as much as I could, and then it was time to come home. So I came back. And we already knew each other. We've known each other for 10 years. We used to work together at Bell. We sort of got separated or lost contact for about 7 years. Mm-hmm. And, I was doing my own travels. He was doing his own adventures. And then just last year is when we reconnected here in Vancouver. And he had left the boat in Mexico and needed crew for next season. And I had been thinking about sailing because I had never done it. And I love the ocean, so I was sure, I'll come sailing with you. And then we just started hanging out a lot, and then magic happened, and we started dating, and then I came on the boat.
How did you pick what countries you were going to specifically? And then how did you end up coming back, and then after being, disconnected from Eric for so long, how did you guys just sort of rekindle your friendship or meet up again?
Yeah, so initially, because I have a Spanish passport and I have Spanish heritage, I felt like I needed to honor that and go to Spain. So that was in my list. And Italy, I just love, the Italian romance and pizza and all that stuff. So gelato. So Italy was a must, and my best friend lives in Switzerland. So that's where I initially went. Sort of Western Europe, and then where I was willing to stay anywhere that I would get a job. So I really like Spain. I wanted to stay in Spain, but I didn't feel very comfortable doing design work in Spanish. I know the software in English. I learned everything in English, so I was more inclined to do it in an English-speaking country. And there were so many opportunities in London, and I literally waited until my money was completely out to be okay, I need to get a job somewhere. So I was in a rush, and London had so many opportunities. Something came up within, I moved to London, and in 4 days I had a job. And because the pound was so strong, it allowed me to go traveling basically every weekend to different countries. They have good vacation time. They give you, I think it's 22 days a year, which is double in Canada.
Yeah.
So I could take 4-day weekends and 3-day weekends here and there. And it's such a hub for flights that it's, you know, you get $30 flights to anywhere, to like Norway. And so a lot of my choices were based on that. Was just like whatever the cheapest ticket was that weekend. And, you know, like Skyscanner has the option to like from London to anywhere, and it just gives you the cheapest one. And I'm like, sure, I've never been there, I'll go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And
also I was doing a lot of couch surfing. So being around travelers, speaking with travelers, and just hearing their recommendations of like amazing places in the world. That's how I heard about like Israel. Like I would have never thought of going to Israel, but
totally.
A few people were like, no, it's amazing. So put it on my list, and I kind of just emerged from there. And then with yoga, India is where it came from. So I definitely wanted to go there. And there were all these neighboring countries that it was kind of obvious to like go to those as well. And Myanmar I went to because it's one of the like least westernized countries out there. So I thought it'd be cool to check that out.
And you were doing these travels all on your own at the time. Like there were no... Other than, like, maybe meeting people along the way and traveling with other travelers, right? Yeah,
exactly. So there was a bit of that. I did meet up with some friends in certain places. And I have a lot of friends from high school in Spain. And so, you know, I was visiting some people that lived in places as well. Actually, through these travels, I realized that I'm not really a city person, especially living in London. It was, like, suffocating. So I was looking for the most, like, wild... beautiful natural places. So that drove me to like Iceland and Nepal, and was just like the mind-blowing nature.
Yeah, and then it just kept rolling from there.
Yeah.
Now, while Nathalie was doing this, what was Eric doing?
I think I was in Vancouver during that time, and I started like a vacation rental business after getting out of sales for 10 years or so, and I went to coding school and did that for a bit. Eventually, the idea of sailing kind of came back. And by that time, I was living in an apartment downtown, and we were renting the apartment like 3 weekends out of the month on the Airbnb, and that kind of pushed us out of the apartment, and we'd go like exploring. North around Pemberton or Lillooet, go backcountry skiing, hiking, visit some of the hot springs, and the idea of sailing was kind of like incrusted in my mind since I was in high school. There was a family that came through school, and they made this documentary, and they filmed their trip, and their idea was to build their own sailboat, and when that is going to be ready, to just leave. And during that transition, or while they were actually still working, building the boat during nights and weekends, they got pregnant, and they actually got twins, and now they're like, oh crap, we can't do this thing anymore. Like, we have a family, and eventually 7 years later, the two daughters are 7 years old, and they're just like, screw it, they just sold everything, and they left, and that kind of like stayed in my mind, and I thought, when I'll be, when I retire, that's something I want to do. And during those times is when one of my relatives, my aunt, that was like her second mom pretty much, she passed away. So I flew in Quebec, and I actually got there too late, got there for a service, and she was 51 years old, and was like, maybe I'm not gonna make it to my retirement, and flew back. And 2 weeks later, I bought the first sailboat and started, try to get out there as often as I could, and the idea of going traveling with it kind of stuck in my mind, and I gave myself, I think it was a year and 3 months later to be ready and do that. So during that time, I spent a year and 3 months to full-time working on the boat and getting ready for the trip. And at first I was working at the same time, and I tried to give them a year notice. So when it was about a year, I tell them like, hey, I'm thinking next year to go sail the world. And 4 days later, I got laid off.
Oh, dang.
And that kind of worked out because I thought it would take me about 2-3 months to get the boat ready. And a year and a half later, almost, there's still only half of the list that was actually good to go.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I promised myself on that day I would leave no matter what. And sailed from Vancouver slowly down to Cabo St. Lucas, and that took about 3 months, kind of hopping around and dropping anchors in crazy places.
So on both your ends, I mean, yours started a little later, and we'll talk about it because I told you.
The sailing part?
Yeah. How did the YouTube channel start?
Is when there was two main YouTube channel in terms of sailing. There is Sailing de Los and Sailing Le Vagabond, and one of them is two brothers. They kind of left from Seattle. Another one, they're an Australian couple. I think the guy bought the boat in Italy, met this girl that was working in a restaurant, something like that, and they end up sailing. And there was the two main one at the time, and I started watching them, and I thought it would be cool to kind of document this, because a lot of you can kind of write it, but it's harder to kind of share that if you have kids later on. Totally. Or with your family, so they can actually understand what it is about. Because you can try to talk about this lifestyle, but most people can't grasp it. They can't understand it. So having that was kind of nice, and at the same time it's easier to just put it on there, and your family and friends know what you're up to, instead of just calling them and just sending messages. I find it was that was before being a year behind, but but that's how it started. Yeah,
it's funny you say that, because when I first started watching your series, in my mind I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a glamorous type travel thing where like they're going to be in blue beaches and like blue clear water, and they're going to be jumping off the edge of the boat and just like living this life, and awesome. And there were shots like that.
Yeah.
But you ran into a lot of problems where I was like, shit.
That's the real boat life.
Thank God I watched this series, because I went from like, that would be cool to do for a year, to not for me.
Yeah.
So I think it does take a certain mentality to do what you do. But also I noticed that like you are very hands-on. You seem to have a lot of like, I don't know, sort of like that engineering like kind of mentality where you fix things yourself, a lot about the motors and things like that.
But the thing is, I don't.
Oh, okay.
You kind of have to, and especially at that time I had more time than money, so I couldn't afford spending $20,000 to redone all the bottom of the boat. So I had to do it myself, and a lot of times it's kind of like, I can't believe I'm getting into this, but you're like, you have to, otherwise you can't just throw the towel right there. You're so deep into it.
Oh, totally.
So you just start, and one of my buddy Vaughn that I met at the Marina, and sometimes there's projects that would intimidate me. I was like, hey, how do you do that? It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe I should get it done by somebody. And it's like, man, just do it. And if you screw up, just got to do it again. It will still be cheaper, and most likely it will be better. It will be done better than the yard guy that hates his job in the boat yard.
100%.
So I went with that, and same thing. And after that, I started making my sails. We done the bottom, did like all the electricity and stuff, and the more you kind of build that, you build your comfort lines or your confidence more. And now we can, like, we just redid an engine last week, and it's still not running. But you get more confidence, and you just learn so much, which is kind of, and you save a bunch of money. So
yeah.
He watches a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Oh,
thanks to
YouTube. Definitely.
YouTube and Google.
Yeah, 100%.
University of YouTube.
Google is the second largest search YouTube is the second largest search next to Google.
Oh,
yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, but a lot of people now do they look for how to blank, or how to do blank, right?
Totally.
How to make a sail or fix it or whatever. It's crazy. So you end up down, I believe it was somewhere in Mexico on this boatyard.
Yeah.
And at the time you did have a girlfriend that was part of this series with you.
Yeah, totally.
And then on one episode, she was no longer there, and you quickly explained that you broke up. It seemed the case was that she just couldn't live that lifestyle anymore.
First of all, I think that lifestyle is definitely not for everybody. And if, things are not 100% solid, that is going to bring it up, especially in the boatyard. Yeah. So, but yeah, like, things were already pretty rough before even leaving, and I was hoping when it's warm and it's like everything gets nice and you're in that nice sandy beach, everything will magically be good.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes. And that just kind of like naturally made us like break it and go in different ways. And it was kind of funny because after that in my head is like, you know, boatyard is just relationship crusher. And when we went back on the boat in Nathalie, we were 2 months on there, and Natalie's like, this is freaking awesome. It was like, man, if you think the boatyard is good, like wait until we're in the water. So
you thought the boatyard was awesome?
It was kind of fun.
That's hilarious. So real quick, when you're in the boatyard, are you still living on the boat?
Yeah.
Or are you like at some hotel?
No, you're living on there and you climb the ladder on and up, and it's a bit trickier because I mean you can't just.
Because you were there for like a week, right?
Well, that place I think I was there for 3 weeks, and it was supposed to be 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And because it was like for insurance reason, and because it was covered by them, so it's like, okay, I'll get those guys, but they totally screwed up the job, which I ended up having to pay and do myself.
Oh, wow.
So that was quite a roller coaster, just like dealing with a breakup in the boatyard, plus dealing with fixing the boat and the thing that they broke.
Yeah.
And after that, lunching, and now I'm running to actually cross the South Pacific at that time. And but yeah, like I had some friends that flew from Montreal and met some people and did some surfing, and just kind of like the first time that I had some time for myself. And I think you don't realize what it is until you actually have the luxury to do it.
So that was the other thing that I thought about, because I watched your entire series.
Oh, you did?
I think every episode.
Wow.
Maybe give or take.
Yeah,
one
thank
or
you.
two.
My
Well,
man.
hey, you got to do your research when you're doing a podcast. But I also try not to dive too much into the people that I'm interviewing, because what I want to do is I want to ask questions that I don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I I look too much into it, then I know all the answers of questions. You know what I mean? But okay, so when your ex-girlfriend or girlfriend at the time leaves from the boatyard or whatever, and then you're on your own, this is where I was like, oh shit, this must really suck, because you're alone on this boat in the middle of nowhere. Well, you had the dog, right? Yeah, which was a good thing, right? But did you feel any like I don't know, not anxiety, but sort of like.
That might sound harsh, but it was kind of a relief, because it's something that I felt was overdue, and like it needed to happen. And after that, it was some of the best sailing I ever had. And the wind was getting in my favor. I was actually on my own schedule. I didn't have to rush or a place to another. And if it was for one of the first time in my life, I could actually be selfish. I could just, if I'm hungry, if I want to go hiking, I want to go spearfishing, or I want to stay here a couple extra days, I could just do that. Yeah. And you got the time to, and that makes you learn about yourself, because like most people are just like, hey, you have people on board, like, are you hungry? Like, do you want to go hiking? Do you want to go on the beach? Like, what do you want? I don't know. So all those stuff, but now it's just you. Yeah. And if you want to be social, like, you just hop in your dinghy. There's other boats in the bay. You just go and knock on the holes. Like, hey, I'm thinking to do a bonfire tonight. You guys want to join? And most people would. And some people are like, well, you're not supposed to do a bonfire. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to the next boat.
I hate those people. No, I really do. Those
are the ones that are miserable.
I hate people who are like, you're not supposed to do that. And it's just something so minor. And it's like, okay, then you don't do it. Okay, and if I get in trouble, I get in trouble. But, like, I hate keeners. Like, I just hate them so much. I hope none of them watch my podcast. Okay, so then you end up back in Vancouver, right?
Well, not quite. So, at that time, I was still... actually had a friend from Alaska. She was doing, like, a kayak trip. And she's like, hey... like, I was looking for crew. The plan was to actually cross the South Pacific on that year.
Oh, okay.
And so she was like super keen, and she was already used to the element, and so we crossed to the mainland and try and like get everything ready. And I needed like to get some chains and other boat stuff, and and that didn't end up working out. And Kat was, which is the girl who came to crew on the boat. She actually had to go. She had, since we're supposed to cross the South Pacific, she had her visa. I think it was starting in November, and she
for New Zealand.
For New Zealand, and she couldn't get it postponed or anything like that. So she ended up, I think, going on a different boat for a bit and went on her journey. And after that, I had one of my buddy from Montreal that came, and at that time was like, okay, I was supposed to get some chain for the South Pacific, and they tell me 3 days we'll be here. That's typical Mexico. And go there 3 days, a week, and I go in a week, and it's 3 weeks, oh crap. So next time they 3 months. I can't do 3 months. I'm missing the window.
Yeah.
And they were asking crazy. I think it was $3,500 for just chain US, and I couldn't even get it anyway. So I end up just sailing back north, and having friends and sailing by myself. It was just it was awesome. It was so good. And eventually, I actually put the boat on the hard in the desert. So they just kind of put it out of the water, put it on still in the desert, and I flew back to Vancouver. And I was thinking to get a van and maybe build it, or just kind of, when I'm in summer, I could just be in the van and travel with that. And in the winter, go back to the boat. And so I have the best of the two worlds. So I know Nathalie was living in a van. Yeah. And she was interested to potentially go on a boat. It's buy me a beer and I'll tell you all about it, or something like that.
Totally.
And she's it's I have one in the van in the fridge ready to go. And we just kind of chatted for a while, and you can tell that if you want. Yeah.
So we're backtracking a little bit. Yeah. Nathalie had van life for a while. Right, where you took this van that you claim is this ugly van or whatever.
It was pretty ugly.
And you gutted it with your family. I remember seeing the photos on Facebook and stuff. And then you revamped it, and then you went off. You were doing, I guess, the West Coast here in BC, correct?
Yeah, I didn't really go too far. I was just doing more little local trips on the island. Went up to Campbell River and Quadra and Cortes and Victoria and up to Pemberton, things like that, because I started school again, so I was mostly local.
Yeah.
But it was fun to live in a van. Then Kona and him moved in for the summer, and we did the van life for the summer until we went back to Mexico.
And where did you guys go together in the van?
Well, we went to Arnby and
Arnby,
a bit over
Victoria,
the island.
Nanaimo. I think that's the only trip we did. Because I was in school, so I was kind of stuck in Vancouver.
And then she was like, well, I'm interested to go sailing. She dropped school, and it's whoa, okay. She's really
dropped out.
Oh, what were you taking, though?
Holistic nutrition.
Okay, so you dropped out of that. I thought you finished.
I put it in pause.
Okay, you put it on pause. So I can still... Did you finish, or no?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah. But you did start the YouTube channel at that time, yours, not the Sailing Wonders, right? Yeah. Nourishing Wonders.
Yeah.
And you did 2 episodes, which were really, in my opinion, first two episodes were good, right? Yeah. And then you stopped.
Yeah.
And it's been, I don't know how long, but I've been waiting to see episode 3. I learned about pumpkins. I learned about, honey and apples, I think.
Honey. How did you know that? Because that's next.
No.
Honey.
Oh, well, wait. Maybe it was...
there's a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I'm getting the 2. But
some spoilers.
Why did you stop making those videos?
It was just really hard to focus on so many things. We're a year behind on Wandersailing.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work to make videos, I'm sure you know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you don't have to tell me.
and now that we have this business that we're starting with the van, so it... I couldn't put my focus in so many things.
Okay.
So I still, it's a passion project for sure, and I still wanna do it, but right now time doesn't allow me to do all the things.
I hear you.
And Wandersailing has, it's something we share. It's both our passions, and we have awesome footage and something we want to share. So
definitely
putting more time into that.
There's already an audience and something we do every day, so it's just made a bit easier to kind of continue on that way.
Definitely.
But, and I'm pretty excited for the next season, because Natalie's been pretty good to actually film, and which I think the first season was a bit rough because there were a lack of footage, and tried to piece that together, it's kind of make out a bit of a choppy story.
Totally.
So, which second season with Nathalie handling a camera is, I'm super excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have some good stuff coming.
Nice. So
Just need the time to edit.
when is that stuff coming? Like, what's the whole day?
Every Thursday, but
yeah, I mean, ideally, we want to get to a point where we're posting every week.
Yeah.
More realistic, every 2 weeks. Right now, it's like every month, and sometimes we miss.
Yeah.
But that's because we're starting a business with like camperizing, outfitting vans, sprinter vans. Yeah, it's hard to put time aside for our videos.
I hear you. You got to get it done, though.
I know.
You gotta do it.
We just gotta.
You just, like, late nights, whatever.
Yeah.
A couple hours a day of editing, and then by the end of the week, you got your video. Because I need more content. Come on. That's one thing I find, too. Like, don't get me wrong. I post one video every couple weeks as well.
Yeah.
Right? And I always want to post more. But I find the same problem, like, super difficult. Like, even the podcast is a lot of editing on top of like all the other things that are going on.
Especially when you have 4 cameras going.
I know.
Yeah. But the good thing about mine is like it's split screen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but like, and then I have slides on the corner. Yeah, I try to make it more visually appealing, so to speak. So I totally hear where you guys are coming from with the whole editing thing, but we gotta see those videos. So we got some videos coming for season 2.
Some interviews as well.
Oh, nice.
We're starting like new facets. So we're interviewing like different types of sailors. So we have like young sailors, because a lot of people wonder like, how the fuck do you do it? Like, I think how do you afford it is the biggest question. So we interview some people. Before that, we can
talk about how we actually, when we first got into the world, and eventually how we learned the.
Yes, because we skipped that part.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the Sprinter van, after you guys were hanging out that summer, then you guys transitioned into Nathalie coming on crew, correct?
Before that, I had a bunch of stuff that I needed to bring from Vancouver to Montreal, because I had it in storage, and it was actually in my ex-girlfriend's basement, so which got transited. So I had to deal with that, and so we brought all this stuff from Vancouver, and we went on a road trip.
We were thinking of taking my van, but it's like, of how many liters per 100
I was doing
kilometers?
the maths, like, Nathalie, that's going to take over 30 liters.
It's like $2,000 to cross the country.
Yeah. So, like, I think it would be awesome to have the van, but it's not a good idea. So I ended up, I just bought a little Toyota Sienna, and we packed everything in there.
Good call.
And brought a tent, and we got just, I think the night before, or 2 days before, just a roof box that I would just slap on there, and got all this stuff, and with Kona, just enough spot. just enough
space for her with like all the bags up to here.
So I drove across, and we got to Montreal. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Nathalie had to fly back to Vancouver, try to sell her van. So I started to drive to Arizona, where she met me. And after that,
it was also because when our relationship was pretty new when we left Vancouver. So, and he hadn't seen his family in like 2 years. So it was like, I didn't know if, like, I knew I was coming on the boat, but he was going to spend like a couple of months in Montreal. So I wanted him to be with his family, and like, it was all very new. So we weren't even official. And so I didn't really leave Vancouver with, like, I still had my van. I still hadn't unpacked, like I didn't bring my Mexico stuff.
Yeah.
So during the road trip, our relationship solidified a little bit more. And then we got to Montreal, and it's like, fuck, I should have just brought everything and got rid of everything, because we could just like drive to Arizona now. But I just had to go back to Vancouver and like finalize things. And so he drove by himself to Arizona, and then I flew in.
Getting back to Montreal, I think I haven't been for 3 years, and at that time my sister actually had a kid, and it was 2.5 years or something.
2.
So it was 2, and just kind of interesting to see a nephew, and just your sister just came out with a human being, and you're just meeting him for the first time. And so we lived with them for a month or 2, and that was pretty cool, because even if I was there for the last 2-3 years, I would have never spent 3 months solid, even if I come every weekend. We would never have all that quality time. So it was pretty awesome to be able to do that, and pack all this stuff. And there was months of just researching gears, and they're trying to find, and just can't afford spending full price on it. So you just kind of tried to get one part on discount here and just put it together, and which took a lot of time, and packed all that in the van, and like the other half of the stuff got shipped in Phoenix because some of the stuff was cheaper to send in the US, so that's why we went there. And
but not just that, you sold your truck to get like a
Wanamaker.
Wasn't it a GPS system or something?
Well, it was a Wanamaker and autopilot.
Yeah, the autopilot thing. That thing's pretty cool though.
The
You actually you upgraded that as well.
Well, there was no Wanamaker before, and I upgraded the autopilot. And
what's a Wanamaker?
So you transform salt
Ocean
water into drinkable water.
Oh, nice.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So you don't have to fill up your tank technically, and you just use 12 volts. So it just works off your solar panel. And it's pretty sweet. But just that machine was almost $11,000.
Yeah.
And that's why. And I mean, there would be no purpose of really keeping the truck if I was planning to sell for an extended period of time, and the car being sitting there and devaluating. Yeah, so I sold that, and that well worth doing it because the Wanamaker has been super nice, and the autopilot brought us from Vancouver there, and there's like a little glitch, but glad we spent the money for it. And
what was the glitch? Did you end up in
sometimes
like
it turns
Portugal
off,
or something?
Because it just stops.
Oh, okay. Well, if it stops, does the boat stop too, or does it just like
Well, it'll
stop
start drifting potentially if you don't take control.
You're inside on the toilet and start beeping, and
which has
boat
happened.
fall off. Yeah.
It's like, the one time it stops during my shift, this happened once. I'm in the bathroom, and then you just feel like the boat stops, and you're just like turning 360 degrees.
Oh. Okay, I see.
Run out.
So, the other interesting part about your journey is the fact that you have a dog that literally began its life on this boat, and also in this nomadic lifestyle, because from boat to van and then back to boat type of thing. So what's it like having a dog? Because now the dog's big. I mean, I saw it earlier. It was here.
At first, I thought it would be cool to have a dog on board for just, I don't know, the company and also safety in Mexico. It's kind of an alarm system that doesn't take power. Totally. You have a companion. But Kona kind of like, we found her on, I think it was on Kijiji, and that was after the holidays, and try to find a rescue dogs. And after the holidays, they're empty. And there was one dog that we really liked, but was limping, had hips problems. Like, it's gonna be on a boat. It needs to be able to jump like on and off. Can't just crane the dog on and off every day, twice a day. So we kind of gave up on the idea, and eventually, I think did a quick look, and there's Kona. She looked pretty rough. She was the rent of the litter, and her coat was light, and she had this little Buddha belly, and but get there and just like so cute, and it was like, oh, we should think about it, and it's like, oh, actually we're gonna take her, and, take the dog, and there's no leash, no blanket, like nothing, no collar, just got the dog. So it was 9:30, so it's like, okay. Because I felt she kind of needed to go, and in the parking lot of Burger King, where we drove to Chilliwack to grab her and kind of put her in the parking lot so she can pee, but I'm kind of scared she would run. I don't know the dog yet. And she did like a bit of poo, and I think she finished, and I put her back in the car, and I gave her to my, which now my ex-girlfriend, but girlfriend at the time, put her on her lap, and was like, okay, I'm just going to go grab a bag so I can pick up the poo, and so comes back in the cart, and there's piss and shit everywhere. And I look at her, it's like, what the hell happens? Like, I don't know. And she's crying. There's piss and shit all over the console. And it's like, oh man, like, what do we do? Should we call it? And she's like, should we call them back? She's like, well, we should commit to this dog. We can't just pull out now. I mean, so go to Walmart.
What's the return policy?
So I go to Walmart, grab everything, and same thing. So we grab a mat and bring her inside, and wake up the next day again. Like, there's piss and shit everywhere in the boat, and it's like, oh man. So I really like have a handful with refitting the boat, and I think I was laid off at the time already. But so the first 2-3 weeks was a nightmare. Like, I had to take her out like every 15-20 minutes nonstop.
Oh, wow.
If I wasn't like working on the boat, living on the boat full time, it would have been even more of a challenge. It probably destroyed all the inside.
Yeah.
But being there and be able to train her every day, it helped a lot to kind of make her ready and used to the boat. And eventually she was able to walk out, and we had a pee pad, which is fake grass on the deck for a while.
Yeah.
But
It was the backyard.
yeah, it was kind of a backyard, and she got pretty good doing that. And but after a few storms, like we lost it overboard.
Oh, okay.
And after 2 was like, hey, I kind of hate having all this plastic going in the ocean. It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And you have to wash it twice a day, and it still stinks.
Yeah.
So eventually she just started to do her business right on deck, and just like pick up the poop, rinse the pee with a bucket of water, just with seawater, and doesn't smell, and it's pretty easy to clean, and that's what we've been using for the last while.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So
in
she just goes
Mexico-
wherever.
Yeah,
on
she just
the
do a
deck.
business.
Yeah.
So don't even have like to take her. She just go on deck, and if she will wait until we actually get in a dinghy, and if we potentially go to shore. But if she see us, like we don't bring her or whatever, she just leave with the dinghy, and she just go on the deck on her own.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just as much as possible she waits to go because she
Yeah.
prefers to go on shore. And I don't know, it's like she knows it's less work for us, so she
Yeah.
waits. But if we're not going, and we can even tell her, like if we know we're not going, we just tell her gonna go on deck, and she goes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and in Mexico it's so hot that the poop dries in like an hour, and then it's just a rock. You just pick it up and throw
Okay.
it overboard.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So pretty chill. Not too shabby.
Yeah,
So having a dog on board isn't so bad. You were
No.
feeding your
Amazing.
dog fish like right out of
Yeah,
the friggin' rivers and stuff.
yeah.
So like, is that cool, or does your dog's stomach
loves it.
digest that, or is it
Yeah.
because she's used to it since she's been doing that from birth?
I was cleaning the fish, and I cut the head off and the guts and put it on a rock. We should feed on that, and after that, eat the fish. Just like screw it. So I just knock the fish out and give it straight up to her, and she just eat it like that. It's like, man, perfect. She's ready for the boat. And,
Yeah. So that's like the dog's diet now is like just feeding
much
off
as
the
we-
land or whatever.
well, as much as we try to,
She
but
eats a lot of kibbles.
yeah,
Okay. So she still eats dog food.
Yeah, she still eat some kibbles, and we try to mix it up as much. Like we almost get fish every day or every second day when we're out there, especially in Mexico spearfishing. So she's always there. So when we fillet it, we feed her like the scraps or extra piece, and yeah, she eat it raw, and she loves it.
You guys end up going on your first sailing trip, correct?
Well, first we were in the boatyard for 2 months.
Yeah. we're working
Why
on
are you always in the boatyard?
boats need work
That's-
all the time.
Well, that's why before I leave, I was kind of signing up to those blue water cruising associations and everything, which I highly recommend to get as much information as you can, so you can, save yourself some of the mistake that other people did, and some of the older sailors were like, you'll see cruising is all about fixing your boat in exotic places. Like, ha ha ha, that's funny. This is actually pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you always have to do a little bit of a coat under, and there's a bunch of upgrades that I wanted to do before crossing the South Pacific. So upgrading a windlass, which pull your anchor, new chain, new anchors, and new toilets. So we get
Re-embedding
rid
the
of
chain plates.
yeah, there's just,
Constantly
low maintenance.
upgrading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of this stuff you don't have to do if you're just going to be cruising locally. But if you have, the idea of crossing an ocean, I mean, there's no shops when you're
Of course.
15 days out in the middle
Yeah,
of
and
the ocean.
even if
Yeah.
you get to the South Pacific, you can't get boat parts there until
Yeah.
you get to Australia. But there's, we just wanted to be as prepared as possible.
And eventually we splash, and the real first sail for Nathalie on the boat, we left at 2 a.m. It was an overnight trip.
Holy
It
shit.
was supposed to be 18 hours, but we picked a good weather window, but it was probably a bit rougher, I think.
It was rough.
Especially for your first one,
It was
but
my first time.
we got there super fast. Instead of 18 hours, it took 12 hours to get there.
Oh wow,
like 12
okay.
and a half. But
That's
I
not too
got
bad.
so sick.
Oh, from like the weather, like just cold? Or
Yeah,
what?
well, it was like baptism by fire. I had sailed twice before the summer that we met, but just like little trip from Burrard Marina to Jericho. Like it was just like a tiny little sail. So this was my first long trip. It was at night, and we had like the waves and the swells right on the beam, so the boat is just like moving side to side.
Well, on the corner,
And-
but yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah,
It was
and
rough.
I didn't really know what you are supposed to not do when it's rough. So I was down like in the cabin for, you know, I spend like maybe too much time down there, and that gets you really dizzy. And
okay.
And I was boiling. We have a gimbal kitchen, so it like gimbals with the
it sways. Okay.
The stove, yeah. Yep. And I was boiling ginger water to feel better, and because it was rough, even though it's gimbal, the pot like fell and there was water everywhere, and I'm just like on my knees cleaning, which is you don't want to put your head down, and I just got so sick I just like ran out, throwing up overboard.
Oh wow.
And Eric walks out and like, how you doing? I'm like, there's shit coming out of my nose. I'm like, not good.
Because you do shifts, so you know, sail for 4 hours, and after that it's like, oh, all right, baby, you're on. So
yeah,
it's like the autopilot is on, and she was kind of like unsure of what is good or not, and she was looking at Kona to have some feedback if like it was normal or not.
Yeah, because like there's so many sounds and the sails are flopping, and I'm like, I was so new to everything. I like, didn't know what to do. So I would just look at Kona, and she was calm, and I was like, okay, it must be okay. Whatever is happening.
Were you
right
worried
now.
at all, like jumping into this?
Not jumping into the sailing, but I was definitely worried about being on my own. Like when I was on shift the very first time, and he was sleeping, I'm like, I don't even know. I don't think I even knew the terminology trimming sails.
Yeah,
like,
is that safe for you? Like were you okay with this?
So if there's anything, I was down below, I was sleeping, and the other thing is, it was on the autopilot, and since it was like a long voyage, you can set it to keep the same angle to the wind.
Okay.
So she didn't have to actually trim the sails.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we actually, you know, we jumped into that, and I was confident I could sleep, and if there's anything, she could wake me up. Okay. And
I didn't actually have to do anything for those 4 hours, but just keep an eye out. And if I saw a light, like a boat,
not a vessel,
it was still, I had never used the radio, so I was like, first, I don't know what to do.
Like, what do I say?
Do you have to say anything to them?
Oh, you
just
like want to make contact.
You try to call them. So if you have the IIS, you can technically see them on there. You can call them by their vessel name, and a lot of the time you don't. So you're just kind of like, hey, unknown vessel. This is sailing vessel Briamia. Please come in. So you try to just make contact.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a ferry, it can be a cargo boat, or anything like that. But by the light pattern, most of the time, eventually you can roughly tell us what it is, or by the
what direction they're going in. And it's mostly just because a lot of them are like not paying attention, and you just want to make sure that they see you.
Oh, okay, I see.
And usually like they're far, so that first time I just didn't call anyone because I was a bit radio shy, and it was far enough that I was like, it's not a hazard.
Totally.
But it was still magical, like, you know, seeing the sunrise, and there were phosphorescence, and it was like my first time, you know, just seeing where the water kind of like breaks around the boat and just like everything glowing. It was very cool. Until I felt sick, and then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't so
I wake up and I just see her on the low side, which because the boat is on angle when you're sailing because of the
you want to
wind
throw
pressure.
up on the low side.
So because that's where the wind's going, and that's also just easier.
Definitely.
So I see her on the low side, and she turns around, like, there's shit coming out of her nose. Like, are you alright, baby? It's like, no. I was like, yeah, I can tell. No shit.
That's hilarious.
And
so I was pretty worried then because I didn't think I got seasick, and after that I was like, how am I gonna do this? Like, is this what it's gonna be like every time? Like, maybe I can do this, but it never happened again. I don't get seasick. Sometimes I'll like feel a little uncomfortable, and I know now to just like be outside, and if you're hungry, you go inside and get yourself something because I'm staying out here. But for the most part, I feel comfortable and good.
And you know, like it's good if you just go in the bay and you go with friends, and like the boat is sideways, but now it's your whole house sideways. It's kind of new, but you did like a champ.
Thanks.
And you know, I think in the morning we started to see land because we're doing the crossing of the Sea Cortez from the mainland to the Baja side, which is the peninsula. Yeah. And she was kind of like a bit nervous. Should I wake him up or whatever? But it's like, no, we were like 4 hours away still. Yeah. We're fine. And we eventually hit lands, and I think in Santa Rosa and
Santa Rosa, yeah.
And sailed down. It was still a bit cold, and eventually got warm, and could now at least start freediving and spearfishing.
Nice. So what was that like? I mean, I know you do spearfishing. You got pretty pro at it. It seemed, right?
I'm getting there. Yeah.
So what was it like for you?
Well, initially I was just practicing more diving because before this all happened, like I could only stay underwater for like 22 seconds, which is not enough to get a fish.
Of course, yeah.
So it was a lot of, but I was committed to it. Like I got all my gear, like wetsuit and all this crap, even before coming on the boat, because I knew I was, I love the water, I love snorkeling, so sure, I'll dive. But I hadn't got a spear gun because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that yet.
Yeah.
So I was practicing more diving and going deeper and staying longer. And I improved a lot. Like now I can go down for like a minute. And
Which
once that happened,
under load is like it's quite good.
Yeah, definitely.
And also the visibility at the beginning wasn't awesome. It gets better as it gets warmer. So I wasn't really like too keen to go. Like I don't like diving in like super murky water. I can't see it. I feel like I can't calm down.
You don't know where the sharks are.
Yeah. So then the visibility started getting better, and I was getting better at diving.
And also the water got also warmer. It just takes a little bit to get in the zone. Yeah. Because it's pretty much meditation. You just have to slow down your heartbeat so you don't consume as much energy, and tells you that it's okay. And
you want to eliminate like any stressors or anything that like makes you a little uncomfortable. So being cold, I hate being cold. So I wasn't too sure about it. But then like everything good happened. It got warmer. Visibility got better. I was getting better, and then I was like, I want my own gun. I want to shoot some fish.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So and also because he got a new gun as well. He got like a, what is it?
130 centimeter.
It's huge
range. It's taller than me. It's probably more than 6 feet.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a big guy.
But his old gun, I still couldn't load it because you have to like put it on your chest and pull this elastic to load it. And it's so hard, like I couldn't. So I wanted to get my own gun that was a little smaller that I could actually load it easily. So I did that.
Nice.
I still got like a fair sized one. It's actually is it the same size as your smaller one?
I think it's
like
just
10 centimeters less or something.
Yeah. So we got 3 guns on board now.
Yeah.
So have you made a kill yet?
Damn, yeah. My first shot.
Yeah?
My first shot, I got 2 things.
Laura Croft!
I got a fish and a sea cucumber right behind it.
That's epic.
It made a mess.
She's like Laura Croft. Everyone's like, if I had to explain Nathalie to somebody, I'd be like, she's like Carmen Sandiego and Laura Croft put together. Yeah, she travels the world, and then she does adventurous shit like spearfishing and like, I don't know. Next time I see her, you're going to be like, yeah, I killed a grizzly bear.
With my hands.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cute to see her just showing up and be excited about a new gun. It's like,
That's crazy.
Like, cool.
Well, I mean, the boat is your home, I would say, right?
Yeah.
But you guys don't live in one location.
No.
However, you probably traveled, like you especially, probably traveled to the same coastal regions, correct?
Yeah.
Another part of this that I want to discuss is living that nomadic lifestyle. Because for me, like, I've grown up in Vancouver my whole life. I've lived here my whole life type of thing.
Yeah.
I like living on land, and in a house or whatever. But what's the appeal of living maybe like, I don't know, like living around the world, like not living in one place all the time and always having to move and sort of like adjust,
It's, I don't know if it's for everybody. It's definitely like a roller coaster. There's some days you're like, why the hell am I doing this? And other days you can't imagine doing anything else, for me at least. And, but when I sold everything to get on this journey, and you have your cell phone, you have like your insurance and the boat slip where you park your boats, and just canceling all that, getting rid of all keys, like your apartment keys, your car keys, and now you just don't have any bills, you don't have any keys to worry about, you just have that little pin pad on your boat. And that was so liberating. And that was, I think, like it made a little click when just untying the line for the Marina. We stayed in Falls Creek for a couple nights, and it was like, this is pretty cool. And also, like, people are like, oh, you're lucky and you must be like rich. But the thing is, when you're out there, especially on the boat, you anchor most of the time, and for both of us, I don't think we spend more than $500 or $1,000 a month.
Okay.
And if not too many things break on a boat, but so I think this is one of the things that's kind of nice. You can spend more time playing, and it's just if you keep your overhead low, and at the same time you can see so many things. And I don't know, you just kind of get curious. I think we're both kind of like that. We like to see new things, try new things, whether it's some going cruising or building an engine.
Yeah.
Some things are more exciting.
I wasn't too excited about that.
I was kind of just it's kind of like playing Legos, but a bit more expensive.
Yeah. Now I know. I mean, I don't know if you guys did this season because we haven't seen any videos yet. But I know in previous seasons or whatever it may be, you picked up random people.
Yeah.
And like took them with you on your journey.
Yeah.
So how does that happen and how does that work? Like, did you just meet two random people and you were like, hey, I got a boat, and they're like, we're gonna come with you?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think most of the time, some people's like, oh, you're picking random people. But the thing is, if people are spontaneous enough to jump on board, they have similar mentality than you, or they're a psychopath. Which right now I've been pretty lucky. I had like the first kind, as far as I know, But then there's a rally that leaves from San Diego to Cabo St. Lucas every year called the Baja, which I highly recommend. That year there's 156 boats leaving, which is 500 or 600 people. And they make a party before leaving in San Diego, and there's those two young people. They showed up 12 hours before we got to leave.
Oh, wow. So
I think the party was like 7 or 8 at night, and we had to leave at 8 the next morning. Okay. So this girl, her name is Lalita, and she shows up with a surfboard. It's like looking to crew. And there's this other guy who's I'm forgetting his name now, Rob. So they were both kind of walking and looking for crew, and we saw them briefly, and we talked to them. It's like, oh, they look pretty cool. It's like, well, we need some crew, and they showed up the next morning, and they sailed with us. It was pretty awesome, and they were on the boat for 2 weeks. And after that, I had like friends or family coming for a bit, or people that I met through travels. So I met her in Northwest Territories when I tried to pick more mushrooms. I had one of my buddy Alex that came for a bit that come from Montreal, but I knew from her friend. I saw her a couple of times, and it's like, hey, like it would be cool to do this. Like, well, man, if you want, just come on board. And it's like, oh, like just tell me where and when, and that's what we did. And pick him up at the airport, and I met some people. Yeah, again, like just single-handing. It's just easier. I think it's easier to meet people when you're traveling by yourself. You know, if anyone is looking to get experience, it's a good way to get some like semi-offshore experience or some offshore experience.
Totally.
And have a feel of what it is to provision, and try to save waters and all this stuff. And get some miles in.
Definitely. So is there a plan to get a bigger boat?
There's the idea, yeah. I mean, like this boat.
Nathalie seems to like that idea.
Yeah.
Well, we've been floating and dreaming about potentially having a catamaran or a bit bigger, just so it's easier when we have family and friends on board. Yeah. And Nathalie really wants.
So that I can have a Vitamix and an Instant Pot.
So, two really key
we need a lot
aspects.
of solar and a lot of batteries to it for it.
But like the boat we have right now, it's not super fancy, but we just put so much work into it, and it's pretty comfy.
Because in one of your videos, I saw that 120-foot sailboat.
Yeah.
And I was like...
That's ridiculous.
I was like, damn. No, yeah, I'm down with that. That looks like it's got a few rooms in it or something,
yeah,
you know?
A lot
the
of
thing, though, the cost of maintenance is
high.
Skyrocket. It's exponential.
When you go to a marina, you're paying per foot.
Oh.
So the bigger your boat, the more expensive the marina fees are going to be.
Okay. When you do your sails, it's much bigger. When you buy paint, it's a lot more.
When you got to scrape the barnacles.
Yeah, everything is just more work.
So,
but you have more room to have crew that can help you with work. So it's, you can make it work. That's one of the reasons why we also are thinking a little bigger, because then we can have crew and they can help.
So another part of this is cost. So what costs more, living in Vancouver or living on a boat?
Definitely Vancouver is more expensive.
Really? Even with all the maintenance stuff?
Well, when you put in boat parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And well, it depends how you do it. If
Yeah.
you stay at a marina every day and you pay $600 to $800 a month, and wherever you are, that add up to your cost. But if you anchor, like most of the time, that's what we do. And then maybe once or twice a month, we'll go to Marina. We'll like clean the boat and polish things, clean the rigging, put some water and stuff like that. And but yeah, if you just anchor in the bay, almost everywhere it's free.
Yeah.
And after that, you just take your dinghy, which is your little Zodiac that you jump in and out. It's pretty much your car.
Yeah.
So that's how you travel from land to your boat.
Then where do you put the dinghy?
Whether on the beach, you beach it.
But doesn't someone take it?
Or you bring it, if the places are kind of like dodgy, you can bring it to a dinghy dock. You pay maybe like 20 to 40 pesos, which is anywhere from 50 cents to $2, depending which dinghy dock you go. And those guys keep an eye, and we never had an issue.
Nice.
Sometimes people, like, if there's dinghy getting stolen, it's really like on your boat if it's not locked. But with Kona, which is our alarm system, she's pretty good at letting us know if there's people coming close, or if the dinghy to get detached, which happens, and just like bark at it, and she let us know. And
oh wow!
She also cleaned dishes, so.
Really? Oh wait, she just licks it. Okay. I
Yeah,
see.
doesn't use water or power, so.
Remind me if I ever come on your boat to bring my own plate.
I mean, we wash them out.
She does the pre-wash.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you guys work along the way, like when you're in random cities doing random things for random people, or do you just save up, go, and then come back and like save up and go?
Combination. Like I was doing a little bit of freelance work. I'm not actively seeking it, but if something comes up, like a little gig, then I take it, and that brings in a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And
you grab some random gigs too. Like sometimes I would, somebody needed like a cell cover. I had some of the fabric, and I just made one for them, or just kind of modified one. And because we have a sewing machine, and got a little bit of experience with that, building the sails. So we grabbed some random stuff like that. And the season before, like sometimes you just barter. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
So when I needed to finish the head sail in Mexico, I exchanged actually doing drone videos for staying there. I think it was for 6 weeks.
Oh, nice.
And they also landed us a storage space we can actually build the sails. And so instead of spending like $2,500 in dock and storage space, like that was free for the work. So it's also not necessarily the money you're making, is the money you don't have to spend.
Yeah.
So
and being resourceful, I guess.
Yeah,
is another part of it.
And
mostly,
also saving too.
Yeah.
Like that's. But now we want to have something that is like constantly bringing in money, so that we don't have to come back.
Yeah, it
Ever.
should be the YouTube channel. It should be the
That
YouTube
is
channel.
one of them, yeah. And then also this business we're starting. So
yeah, definitely.
But it's just the YouTube channel. Now it's taking a bit of time, so that's why we thought, like, if we can get those van that we can rent, and that kind of generate a little bit of income while we're gone. That's
definitely.
Perfect. And that gave a little bit more of a runway for the channel to take off, which we can actually spend more time doing that and try to post every week.
So yeah, after Banderas Bay, where we didn't end up crossing the South Pacific, we were thinking, do we just go down to Central America and like stay in Central America, or do we just go north, back up the Sea of Cortez? And because I mean, you can spend years there. Like there's people that have been there for like 20 years because there's so many islands. It's beautiful. So we convinced 2 other boats that one is a couple of Norwegian brothers, and the other one is a couple. She's from California and he's from France.
Okay.
And we convinced them to come north with us because they were originally, one was going to stay in Banderas Bay, the other one was going to go down to Central America. And his persuasion worked, and we buddy boated up to kind of back like the way we came down, basically. So like up to Mazatlan, across the Baja, up and back to San Carlos, where we originally started.
Yeah.
But went to a lot of new places. Like a lot of the times, depending on the wind direction, you can stay on one side of the island to be protected, and on the way up, there was different sides of the island we were exploring. So definitely got to check out some new bays. And
Yeah, because the wind get predominant in some seasons. So in So there's places that I actually didn't really explore during the winter because couldn't really go there because it's blowing hardcore on that side all the time. Yeah, so that's why it was also pretty exciting to go because I actually never really been anchoring in those area.
Okay.
But yeah, having those Norwegian brothers that we met in the boatyard, and they bought this boat and they just kind of refit it, and eventually they sailed down, and they had a bunch of stuff like going on. Some rigging broke, the rudder broke, and so anyway, ran into them again in the bay, and there's also that couple. So we had all those younger sailors that we were kind of just buddy boating with. It's like you traveling with your neighbors.
Totally.
Which
That's
is
crazy.
really cool.
Have potlucks every day.
Yeah.
And like
Bonfires.
Yeah,
And,
it was really fun.
Fish
and,
tacos.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. A lot of
That's
fish
awesome.
tacos, ceviche.
Yeah.
Almost every day. But I don't know where we were going with that, but it was pretty cool, and especially that it took a little bit of time to convince them, but
Yeah, but we did it.
yeah.
So where are you guys going next?
South Pacific.
So
We
you'll
gotta
always
do
go
it.
back to the South Pacific?
Well,
Well-
no. So the South Pacific is if you cross to the Marquesas, like the
Oh,
French Polynesia,
okay,
which
okay.
we've been trying to do. Like we tried to do it this year, it didn't work
Yeah.
out. He tried to do it the year before, it didn't work out.
But it's also it's just easy to stay an extra year there because there's so much to see.
Oh, definitely. And you're already there.
You're there,
Yeah.
and the chance you're gonna be to going back there and seeing the places you haven't seen. I mean, their preload is gonna be probably much further because you can't just like turn back and come back to Mexico for the Marquesas. I mean, you spend 21 to 25 days to going there, and the wind is going in that direction. So you either have to go to Hawaii and kind of come back,
Definitely.
or wait for a different weather window. And some people do it, but like sailing against the wind is not the most fun. It's also
Yeah.
pretty hard on your boat.
Yeah.
So
And takes
that's why,
longer, obviously.
yeah. So for us to take the decision to actually just kind of like take a step back, going back to, north of the Sea of Cortez it was not that big
was
of a
great.
deal. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Especially with those two other boats, and after that we had another guy from Argentina that joined us. We were like a few boats always for quite a while, and they had some buddies that flew from Norway coming on board, and yeah, it was always pretty fun. Did some surfing a lot too in Matachen Bay, and so
Sun blast.
So when do you guys leave for...
So the season to cross is March to May.
Yeah.
Which, because we're setting up this business, it's probably not going to happen next year. We might stay in Vancouver for a year.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just like setting this up, and then the year after. So we probably would go back to the boat like October to sail down south to Banderas Bay again, and then around February or March do the crossing.
Okay, and when are we going to see season 2 of...
well, maybe which day are we?
I don't know. Saturday? Maybe
Saturday.
this Thursday. You'll
Today
see
is
a new
Saturday,
episode.
October 26th.
Yeah, next Thursday. Let's
We'll
do
commit
next
to it. We'll make that commitment to you.
Thank you.
Us.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So I'm looking forward to
The next
another
one is
episode.
it's mostly opening boxes of parts.
Okay. That's fine.
A lot of boxes. Which,
Yeah.
a lot of
So if
people
you're
are
into
into.
box opening, you're gonna dig that one because
That's funny because my very next YouTube video is a mail day unbox video.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah.
I literally opened box for a day and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
There was
It
a
just
lot
like a
of
mountain
parts.
of boxes that it was
That's
just coming
crazy.
from Amazon. We eventually sailed back, and after that we had some of the best diving we had.
Yeah, on the way, like the last few weeks, there were dolphins in the bay every day, all day,
wow.
like multiple pods. Got to swim with dolphins in the wild for the first time ever. Like that was magical.
Nice.
Kona got to swim with dolphins
Kona
as well.
got to swim with them.
Really?
We thought that they would get curious and play, but they
just
ran
mess
away.
like
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it was, we have videos.
Oh,
We'll show
that's
you
awesome.
Them. But
Yeah, yeah.
it was just like hearing them underwater. Oh, it was the best. I
Yeah.
loved it.
cool.
and you could see the visibility was 50 feet. You could see everything,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually, I don't know, we were there for a few days, and we just set it up a tripod at the bottom of the sea, tied up to a rock, and we were like doing some dance on there. But if like you get buoyant, but if you swim down, grab a rock,
Yeah.
It's like if you're walking
Oh, yeah.
down, so we're just kind of having some fun and doing some choreography and
Nice.
shooting the shit underwater.
That's cool.
fun.
I'm
And,
really looking forward to
yeah.
this stuff. You
Yeah,
gotta post
there's
it
so
like
much good
in
stuff
the
coming.
next couple days. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so
About
much
that.
to come.
So who does the editing? Like of
We
the
both do.
Yeah,
Okay.
both do. And now you get a lot more involved and
Yeah, initially it was him. I didn't really know how to use iMovie, but
Yeah.
then I started making the Nourishing Wonders videos, so I got more comfortable with it, and also because we were behind, there was still a lot of footage with like his ex-girlfriend, and I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to edit that shit. You take care of that.
yeah.
And like also I wasn't there, so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to put a story together when I wasn't
Exactly,
there. So now
because you
that
don't
it's like
know. Yeah.
the starting where I'm there and I experienced it too, then I'm excited about editing it.
It's
Yeah,
also
that's what
when
makes sense.
actual real cruising and exciting stuff is starting to happen the next season, and not that it didn't the first season, but the thing is we have a lot more footage. There's starting to be more comfortable with actually, not being on timeline, spearfishing, cruising, and meeting people, which was pretty fun.
What's the best place? Like, if you could be like, you have to go here. Where is it going to be?
Like in the place we've been.
Yeah, sailing specifically.
If someone that is sailing the West Coast, and
Yeah.
I recommend for people to stop in Channel Islands, which is in south part of California,
Okay.
and that's definitely a must see. I mean, there's a lot, but my favorite and highlights, if I would have to name two, would be that and the islands around La Paz in the Sea of Cortez in the Baja
Okay.
Peninsula, and which is a place called Espiritu Santos and Isla San Francisco.
Yeah,
And those
San
are
Francisco's
some of my
amazing.
favorite islands. And
Was that
it
the
looks
area
like-
where it
Carmen.
was
Like a
doing
volcano.
the carnival thing? Was that
That's that town,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's La Paz. But from La Paz, it's a good hub to have access to all those islands that you're pretty much half a day sail away, and it's a pretty good spot.
Nice. How about
And
you?
San Francisco, I would agree on that. When we were there in the summer, there were a lot of like big yachts, and that makes it not so cool. But in the winter, it was more like sailboats. And Isla Carmen, there's an anchorage. What's it called? Something with a V?
V Cove.
V Cove, yeah. That was the best visibility we had. There's like little caves underwater, and
Oh, nice.
it's beautiful. That was probably my favorite. And El Gato, I think, is really cool too. There's all these like red rock formations, and just the landscape is really different. Yeah, those are my three.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
How many days does it take, like, from here, like, to, let's say, I don't know, the bottom of Mexico or however far
Travel.
down you
Well,
travel?
If you kind of crawl your way down, you could actually sail from Vancouver to San Francisco in about 7 days.
Okay.
And you mostly have to, that leg you have to go about 100 miles offshore because of the Columbia River. So there's Astoria, there's just that big river dumping current in the sea, and that kind of feel like a washing machine. And after that, from there, you can hop like 1 or 2 days trip up to San Diego. And so that took me probably about 2 months and a half, but sometimes like it would be in San Francisco Bay and living there and just kind of hopping from different place. And now you're
Totally.
living in that town.
Yeah.
And you have your house there, which was really cool. And there's the aquatic center. So you just anchor there and you take your dinghy to shore and you're straight up downtown San Francisco. Your average is roughly about 5 knots,
Okay.
which is maybe about 10 kilometers an hour.
Okay.
So
My
We
board
go
goes
slow.
faster than that.
Yeah, we can
but
walk
we
faster
just press on
than
the
that.
autopilot most of the time if the weather is good.
Yeah. You can't go
kick
faster
back.
than 10?
Well, we did. Like, that time we
Yeah.
crossed in 12 hours instead of 18 hours. We're doing, like,
Okay.
8 or 9 knots, which is quite fast for the boat.
Yeah.
And that's close to, so roughly 20 kilometers an hour.
Okay.
But
But I mean, you're not just trying to get somewhere. Like,
Yeah,
you're
you're
making margaritas on the way, hanging out in the cockpit. Like,
Yeah.
Totally.
you're just an autopilot
And also
flying through the water.
Well, also, with the wind comes usually wave, and so if it's blowing hard, you'll go faster, but it might not be as fun. You
I hear
can
you.
go like a third of the speed and you can be on the deck getting suntan with your margarita.
Yeah.
So it's kind of depends what.
You're not in a hurry to get somewhere.
Yeah, and that's where you really start enjoying sailing, when you're actually not in a hurry to get somewhere. You're not on a schedule, because it's easy to just have to motor there because you have a family member landing there. You try to rush through bad weather or no wind, and now you're like going slow. You have like the engine making noise and stinks, and so just be able to sail and it's quiet and you just
Do your thing.
you do your thing. Yeah,
That's
read
awesome.
or just shoot the shit.
Dang. You guys make me feel like I'm wasting my life here in Vancouver. Seriously.
Come on the boat.
Yeah,
I will one day.
We
I'm
have
not going to
extra-
go all the way to Mexico with you guys, but I'll
All the
come on the
way?
boat
That's-
one
Well,
day.
the
Of
boat
course
is
there's-
already there.
So I have to
Fly
go there?
Mexico,
Yeah,
of
yeah, the boat
course.
is in Mexico.
We
Shit.
didn't sail it back
Why not?
because you have to go through Hawaii. It takes a long time, and
Oh.
Mexico's
That's a
great.
2-month journey, roughly.
Oh, you have to go around.
Yeah, because
You
it's
can't
kind of
just-
highway most
Oh,
of
shit.
So
okay.
the current goes down, and
Yeah.
so technically, if you want to have a good sail, you have to pick the right weather window, and to do that, you also most likely go to Hawaii, whether to Alaska or BC, and that's why we'll be coming back. But just going from Mexico to Hawaii, it's probably just under a month if you get
Okay.
good weather, and same thing, about 21-25 days to get to be back to BC.
Okay.
So it was better to just put it on the hard, pay $130 a month, and come back here, try to make some bucks.
Nice.
And
Well, I have
Yeah.
a friend who works at Air Canada and can get me cheap ass flights to anywhere in the world. So, and actually we're going to LA like in a month or two to ride our boosted boards with the LA boosted crew.
oh yeah,
yeah?
That's the only reason why we're going. We're just going to meet
Damn.
up with them. So maybe I'll take you up on that offer when you guys
Please
are in
do.
Mexico.
Yeah.
If I got some time off, I'll get him to get me a standby ticket, and I'll just fly down. It's like I think
Yeah.
it's like $150 or something.
That's nothing.
Yeah, it's like cheap.
yeah.
Sweet.
And we have an extra cabin. You might have to snuggle with a sail or whatever, but
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just
yeah, it's pretty cozy.
wrap it
and-
around me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't even need the cabin. I could just get a hotel, but I'll come out for the day with you guys.
No, you gotta
No.
live it.
No, if you're gonna come, just
You
live
gotta
a
be
real
on the
thing.
boat.
If you want. But
Do I
we'd be
have to
happy
work?
to.
Yes.
Here's a
Okay,
brush.
okay, fine. Yeah.
Like it's just helping out here and there.
Okay,
just
no,
what,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
what we would
definitely.
do daily.
Definitely. I'll bring
Yeah.
some groceries and shit too.
Perfect. We're set.
Set it up. That's awesome.
Bring some
I
rum.
look forward to it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take you guys up on that. But yeah, when you guys are in Mexico, I'll keep it in mind, and then if I'm around, I'll for sure fly down and just do it. Why not? Just for like a few days or something, even would
Yeah.
Yeah,
be fun.
it'll be an experience of a lifetime.
Definitely.
And you gotta
Where-
try our famous pina coladas and margaritas.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Oh, I'm gonna
And
puke.
ceviche.
I can't hold alcohol. No.
No?
I can like
Alright.
if I have, which is funny
You'll
because I
have
have a
a
shit ton
virgin
of beer bottles
pina
on the
colada.
shelf. But if I have like 2 beers, I'll get drunk. If I have 3 beers, I'm puking that night.
Really? Eh?
But if I have tequila,
You're happy.
a non-stop, I could just go.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Perfect.
but like I
It's
get
Mexico.
Yeah.
I get these
You'll be
weird
set.
pinchy feelings over here, and
weird.
and my arms feel heavy when I get drunk. It's really weird.
That's
It's
interesting.
it's really
Huh.
weird. Or if it's like Caesars or mixed drinks, then I'm totally good. But as soon as you pull out just beer, or like if it's vodka, or I'm having like rum and coke, for example, I'm fucked. Like I'm totally screwed. Yeah, it's just not going to be pretty. So.
We'll just give you tequila.
Yeah, or just pretend it's a drink and just give me like the mix, you know?
I'll just give you
Yeah.
a virgin one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Or put
for
tequila.
sure. Yeah, there you go. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts before we end this off?
Check out Wandersailing.
Yeah,
Subscribe. Thumbs up.
yeah. So I put a link to all of that stuff too in the description of the video below.
Cool.
So yeah, people will definitely be on that. So check out Wandersailing, and Natalie, you should pick up Nourishing Wanders again.
It'll come
Anyway,
back.
Yeah.
even if it's not all the time, like you do an episode, even if it's like once every few months or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like Design to Speak, I can't do it every month or every week.
Yeah.
It's not feasible. And it takes a long time. So that part of my series, I only do like 1 to 3 a year of those
Yeah.
episodes. that's it. Because it's just like, it takes a lot of time to do those
totally.
things. But I still do them because
Yeah.
they're awesome and they provide value. And I think your content, like, you could really build that channel long term while you even build with
Well,
him, right?
there's times that, like, when we were in Mexico, they're actually, you were talking to some of the farmers, and we almost made it happen, but it was a bit tricky to make their schedule and your schedule work some of the time. But
Yeah.
we just had like a
interesting
good
to-
window to leave because the wind was perfect, and so I missed that opportunity. They had like a wicked farm.
Okay.
And like now that we know Mexico a little bit better, now I know like where they grow mango and where they grow, so I can next time when we come back, I can like go to those people and
Definitely.
interview them. And,
Yeah, that'd be a good side series to continue, in my opinion.
yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Well, thank you both for coming. Before we finish off here, be sure to hit subscribe, like, share, comment, and also go check out Wandersailings, and be sure to subscribe to their channel. If you subscribe to my channel, you'll be automatically entered in to win a prize pack. We do one for every 100 subscribers, and we're almost at 500, so the next one should happen soon. Yeah. Any final thoughts, guys?
Thanks so much for having
Yeah,
us, man.
thank
That was
you.
Thanks
fun.
for coming out. Yeah, we've been wanting to
This
do
was
this
fun.
one for a while. Yeah, I'm glad you guys came out. This is great. That's the end of the No Fun City podcast. Peace out.
Peace.
That's it.
Nice.
Today's episode of the No Fun City podcast is brought to you by Shredlights. Check them out at shredlights.com and be sure to use the discount code Mahyar10 to receive 10% off your order. Also, be sure to hit subscribe for your chance to win an awesome prize pack.